A very good morning. This is Hugo Tan here. Welcome to the Insider Group. Really happy to have you guys here so that we can discuss more in depth about topics that matters in your life, whether it's business, it's relationship, or just general life matters. You see, more minds are better than one mind. So here is the result of the voting last week where most of you guys says that you want to talk about how to build a great teams. And here I am today, 1:30 a.m. in the morning in my store with three key concepts on how you can go back to your teams, to your company and start building great teams. Okay, so to cut to the chase, three things: attract, retain, and grow. So how do we attract talents, right? How do we get good people, the right people into our teams? I think a lot of it has to do with people do not buy what you sell, but people buy what you stand for, which means that do you have a very clear vision of where you are heading? People like to follow leaders that have direction. Whether that is achievable or whether you are going to make adjustments in the future, that's another thing. But do you have a clear direction of where you are heading to? Number two, what is your value? You see, when we are talking about what you stand for, it's not just about your dream, your products, or services, but what are your values? For example, we see companies, Apple back in the days, they're not just selling iPods and iPads. They are selling their brand about thinking differently. They're attracting people that are creative, they are doers, they are daring. So how about your company? What does your company stand for? What does it value? There are also other companies, for example, that are more environmentally conscious. Or for example, Body Shop, no animal testing for their products, right? For their bath and cosmetics products. So, and it draws people with similar values to them. So your team is a reflection of yourself. People who stay and can tolerate you are those people that values probably mirrors yours. So think about this. Number one, how to attract them. Number two, how to retain them. You see, there's a great saying where they say people do not leave companies, people leave people. True, true. You see, companies and teams are made up of people, like you and me, right? So when someone leave, if you talk to them, if you communicate with them, you sooner or later find out it's because of some other people. It could be a colleague, it could be the project manager, it could be a superior, someone someday, it could be the politics. So to retain people, I feel the most important thing you can do is to build a great culture. And there has been a lot of misunderstanding on what is a culture, right? Culture is not about beanie bags, snacks, and after parties, right? Or posting inspirational quotes on the wall. I mean, it helps, but you know what it really makes a culture is when there is accountability, right? So, do you have a shared value? Let's say your company values open communication or credibility or responsibility. Most of these are just fancy words, right? Coined by consultants. But what if you can translate them to your daily work? What does responsibility means in your day-to-day work? What does creativity means in your day-to-day work? And do you have a system where people enforce this? For example, a lot of people in a lot of teams, they have people that gossip, that talk behind your back, right? Like, so one of the good practices that we have is we do not allow a staff to talk behind another if he dare not repeat what he say in front of the person. So if any colleague or any superior, we got to hold each other accountable. If we see someone started gossiping about another member in his absence, we have to voice up. We have to say, Jesse, we really can't do that here. That's not how we operate. That's not our culture. Why don't we have David along and then we can talk about it and see how we can come up with a solution to better ourselves. There must be a culture of open communication and a willingness to receive constructive feedback face to face. And if you're a leader or manager, you should really enforce that, because culture means nothing, vision and mission means nothing, no matter how beautiful is it, if no one is enforcing them. Enforce them with consequences, with counseling, with reminder often enough, and it will become ingrained in your team, right? Make sure everyone from newbies to leaders are enforcing such culture. Okay, number 3, how do we grow your team, right? To be a great team. That's what we're talking about. I think there are 3 components. One is accountability. Let's say you have an annual or quarterly KPI. Have you broken it down to daily activities that they need to do? Because what is it that you can't measure, you can't manage, right? So what you want to do is you want to ensure that every one of your people are hitting their daily or weekly targets or KPI, right? If they are not, if they are sidetracked, you hold them accountable. You want them to understand, you want them to be at their best, so that you can bring them to better places, to higher places. Which brings us to number 2, you want to invest in your people. If your people needs a certain training, right, a certain coaching or certain mentoring, do you have channels for that? Are you sending your people for training? Not just in their job scope, right? But are you training them in soft skills, how to communicate with people better, conflict resolution, how to handle work-life balance and things like that, right? How often do you have such communication and channels available to your staff? You see, there has been a question, right? What if I invest so much into my staff and they leave? Which brings us to the second question, which is, what if you don't invest in your staff and they stay? What kind of people will you be keeping in your team? So think far, right? Think far. And if you treat your people well, even when they leave, they recommend more to come to your place. And that brings us back to number 1, right? Which is you have a constant stream of talents coming to you. So you don't have to seek them, but they come to you because of what you stand for. And if you have a good culture, even people who leave because they have differing vision, or maybe they're moving to another town, they still recommend people to you. They still leave great testimonials that will continue to attract talents to you. And lastly, accountability, investing in people. You need to promote your people. Many managers and leaders always put their spotlight on themselves and not enough on their team members, right? Give credit where it's due. And you can get many things done if you really don't care who gets the credit. If they've done something right, praise them publicly, give them the exposure that they needed, or even media opportunity, right? Always promote them, highlight what they are doing good, so that they're away and they're intoxicated to do more of that, okay? So to sum it up, it's not what dream you sell, it is also what you stand for. People don't leave companies, people leave people. And thirdly, if you don't invest in your people, what if they stay? And if you treat your people well, it will just bring in more people, more talents to you even when they leave, right? So that sums up our sharing for this week, which is how to build great teams. If you have more insights or experience that you want to share, ideas, tips on how to build great teams, remember to comment below here. And if you feel that this information is valuable to you, you want to share with more of your friends, invite them into this group, right? Follow this page for more information. And let me know what is another pressing topic that you have that we can discuss in the coming week. And when I find time, I'm more than happy to talk to you guys. So that sums up the sharing for this week. Take care and go out there and build great teams.